You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Best Coast Comics. I'm one of your hosts, Christopher, a.k.a. the Bronze Age Nerd. And this is your other host, Bigby McFly, the comic book guy.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Real quick, I want to make sure we address something I saw in chat because I want everybody to know this is a safe place for them to be. Psycho Phil asked, is tonight spoiler-free or do I need to watch later? And everybody, we're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine when we talk about that. There will be a small amount of Deadpool and Wolverine discussion with absolutely no spoilers. We're going to talk about box office stuff. We're going to talk about whether or not we liked the movie without conversation about anything to do with spoilers. So I want everybody to feel safe for that right out of the gate. That's important to know. So please, in chat, no spoilers. Even if you hear us bring up something where you're like, oh, that reminds me of something in the movie, don't talk about it in chat, please, because we don't want to spoil anybody. Let's be cool.
Yeah. I hate that when that happens. I've had a couple times where I haven't been able to go see a movie, and I'm like, oh, please don't say anything.
Yeah, I know people that are seeing it like Wednesday and Thursday this week. People work, people need to get childcare. Right. Both Bigby and I have seen it. If you want to DM us about our thoughts on the film, that's cool. I think at some point we're going to try to do something. I don't know if that'll be a standalone video or a stream next week. That we'll do something where we talk about spoiler reactions to the movie, but it won't be for a while.
Somebody said spoiler. There's a Deadpool Wolverine movie.
That's a pretty big spoiler. And since we are highlighting members of chat, let's go ahead and say hi to everybody in chat. We got GT Key Comic came in and left those early messages that we always love. It's hammer time. The band hammer is in full effect. Hey, Preston. We got Sycotron says LFG, which I'm so early in the YouTube stream, I won't say that, but let's freaking go. Let's put it that way.
Let's F and go, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Comic-Con recap. That's a huge part of the show. We got lots of news to talk about, and lots of fun stuff to talk about for sure.
Alberto, Despicable Me.
Yeah. We're home. We're here. Are you home? Are you safe? I hope so, Alberto. And always want to say hi to what's on the comic rack as well. We got Jay Burns holding it down in the back room. So yeah, I think how I really wanted to start the show, except for I had to give that disclaimer, is just to see how your weekend was. Bigby, did you have a good weekend?
I had a pretty good weekend. I got to go see Deadpool a second time with one of my good friends.
Nice.
But they really hammered me at work last week. So I was kind of, other than that, I was really uncomfortable sitting in the seat, even watching the movie. I was so sore. So I was kind of whimpering in my bed most of the weekend.
Well, that's too bad. I mean, for those, we're on the West Coast. We're both in the Pacific Northwest. And it has been a very weird last couple of days of weather here. I've been loving it personally, but it's been very rainy. And I know everyone thinks it rains all the time in the Pacific Northwest, but it's actually pretty hot in the summer usually. And humid, and it is very humid right now, but not hot.
Right. No, it was kind of nice. Actually, I got a kind of normal work day. Well, I mean, 8 hours instead of like 14. So
There you go. There you go. Well, sweet. Yeah, I went and watched the UFC fight on Saturday with some friends, and then I went and watched the movie on Sunday with my wife, and we did kind of a date day, which was really fun. We went out and got some sushi afterwards and stuff. So
nice.
It was a very fun day. And I think our first bit of news, actually, we both kind of danced around. Like I said, don't worry, folks. There's zero spoilers involved here. But I'm going to go ahead and share our first bit of news. We may as well talk about that. Oh, actually, before I do that, I should mention that we do have a giveaway tonight.
Oh, you should do that.
Yeah, so I will hopefully remember which screen does this correctly. There we go. So all you got to do in chat, it's all lowercase, hashtag SDCC, since we're talking about San Diego Comic-Con. And there's some stuff in the news that we'll get to later that'll make you understand why we're doing a Fantastic Four graphic novel giveaway, but that's Authoritative Action FF trade paperback there that you get. That is a excellent donation by Bigby to our chat giveaway. All you got to do is do hashtag SDCC for a chance to win. You also have the Marvel Encyclopedia focusing on Spider-Man there. Gorgeous book. I'm sure it's sealed, so I haven't been able to paw through this one, but I'm sure
pretty
that's
cool. It's like it's not stories. It's actually kind of like a handbook to everything Spider-Man.
Nice.
So, pretty cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I always really dig those like kind of coffee table style books for sure. So yeah, before I get too far, I just want to make sure you do hit hashtag SDCC for a chance to win that stuff. All you got to do is if you win, contact me after the show with your shipping information, please. I do ask that because I've had a couple people that they won and they're like, cool. And then I don't know where to ship it. So, we'll make sure we get that taken care of. There's actually a claim form that I should have brought up before the show to make sure we could get in on that. But we'll eventually get that hooked in with the EXP. And before I go too far, I should really mention that this is our second week of doing this. It's going to become normal to us very soon. It already has to me, apparently. But we are streaming on 3 different YouTube channels right now and a lot of other places as well that are connected to those YouTube channels. You might be watching me on the Bronze Age Nerd YouTube channel where you might watch me normally. You might be watching Bigby over on Bigby McFly, the comic book guy's YouTube channel, which you might be watching him on normally. Or you could be watching us over on the EXP channel on YouTube. And again, a lot of other places we're streaming to as well, connected to like the EXP and my channel and stuff. I have links for all 3 channels on YouTube down in the description. If you're not subscribed to any of us, go subscribe to the other channels. We all have good content. We all have fun stuff out there, and we want to show you all of it. So if you want to check out more of that content, hit the subscribe button or the link to the subscribe button down below in the description, please.
Yeah, because you're not going to get you're going to get unique content on the EXP that you're not going to get on our channels. You're going to get unique content on our channels that you're not going to get on the EXP. So you should sub to all of us.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And we'll be doing a lot more interactive content. Bigby and I have some plans for at least one video, kind of 2 videos already that we've talked about doing in the past and we're going to be doing that are separate from this stream. And we're probably going to be doing some more claim sales like we did before on the EXP. And so, yeah, you want to be subscribed to all of us.
That's definitely coming up. Hey,
yeah.
Drac.
Yeah, in fact, you may want to stay tuned this Saturday for a claim sale. We're in the early planning phases of seeing if we could get that done. So lots of reasons to stay tuned.
In the same room even.
Yeah, exactly. Co-location. All right. So again, don't worry, no spoilers here. I'm not going to even really scroll too far down the article just in case. I did scan it earlier. I don't think there's any spoilers in this article, but basically the important part is that you do have Deadpool and Wolverine smashing a lot of records. I think it's currently 6th place among opening weekends at this point. It's like the number 1 R-rated opening weekend in July. There's like 15 different records I saw that it broke basically. This movie is something pretty special. Again, don't worry, no spoilers. But the point is it's doing gangbusters, and there's been a bit of a slump with MCU films for whatever reasons. We're not here to get into all that, but there has been. And this one is definitely, I'm getting vibes of like when Deadpool 2 did like crazy good numbers, for example, when Endgame did really good numbers. So this is really good for comic book movies, for the MCU, for fans of these characters for sure. So I think that's just important to point out, and it's nice to see comic book movies making positive news for breaking records again. That's fun. We want, at least I think most of us want more of this stuff. So I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Um,
you said we were going to give our take. What was? Did you enjoy?
Yeah. I think this is something that every fan of anything that's involved with this, whether it's Marvel, Deadpool, Wolverine, anything you saw in the trailers, if you're a fan of any of that stuff, go watch it. I have no problem recommending this movie. I've seen, some reactions that were like, oh, it wasn't quite as good as I expected. That's like the worst reaction I've seen. Right. And that's still a pretty good reaction, I think, for cinema today in the nerd culture sphere, basically.
Yeah, I heard a couple of people say like, oh, I'm not sure that it lived up to the hype, but it was really good. So, I mean, for that's like the worst thing I've heard.
And I'll say for me, it definitely lived up to the hype.
Oh yeah, I was blown away.
Yeah, so that's I think that it's definitely a lot more universally liked at this point, which is important.
Yeah, it was super good. I mean, well, I saw it twice, so obviously, would I end up shucking out $40 to get 2 times, basically.
And like Headless said here, hadn't seen it yet, but I was given all the spoilers without solicitation. Yeah. And boy, that is something that I shared something with Bigby the other day. I'm just frustrated at what I'm seeing, I made a couple of posts right before the movie came out, like basically telling people to, STFU about spoilers, and that's why, at least personally, I decided I didn't want to talk about it until it had been out for, anything to do with spoilers for at least a full week. Even then, I'll say it's behind, full spoiler warnings, all that stuff. But
right.
I don't want anybody getting spoiled.
That was, like you said, we were like, what a dick move.
Yeah, 100%. Like, there's people out there that just,
you get blindsided, right?
Well, they want the clicks. They want to be the first person to talk about it, and there's ways to do that. There's ways to do that and still spoiler tag. Like, don't have your thumbnails or your leader image for your Instagram post or whatever be something that's a spoiler. Like, I don't know. I get it. You're going to get more clicks that way, or more views, or more interactions from people being like, "What the hell?" But that's not the right way to do it.
Theaters, like when I was there, like I saw people taking video while I was sitting there. I'm like,
oh wow,
why aren't they monitoring that stuff anymore? It's just like,
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of funny for me. I worked as a theater manager for a long time. Kind of, cell phones were definitely around, but live streaming video or like social media video posts weren't as common. So we didn't really have to worry about. We had to worry about people recording the movie, right. And we caught that a few times. But yeah, it's really unfortunate that happens, and hopefully you've been spared for the most part out there. I do recommend seeing it early if you can. Just that, that's the important takeaway is, I made sure for Endgame, for the Star Wars movies when they came out, like especially being in the circles I am, I really try to prioritize seeing those films early, because it's the only way to avoid spoilers, unfortunately, or at least protect yourself.
A ton of people jumping in.
Because it was not an adult movie theater, Comic Tropes. Although on my last day there, as a prank, I did change the marquee over. And this, in my youth, I kind of regret this now, but I did it late at night. I don't think any youth saw it, but I changed all the titles to the adult film version of those titles for all the movies that were playing, basically. Just to give you an example, and this is before I changed the title. One of those movies was a movie starring Goldie Hawn called The Banger Sisters.
Oh, geez.
And that's just the title of the movie. Like, that's just a regular movie that was released. Like Headbanger, they were like groupies, right? But that was an easy one.
So, bunch of people hopping. We should say hi.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to scroll through. We got Agu in the chat too. What's up, Agu? Nice to see you here. Timothy Brandt. There are multiple videos breaking down the entire. Yep. Yeah, and I mean, like, there should be that kind of content out there. People do spoiler reactions, but it should be clearly labeled, and that's just how it should be. Like, I'll never forget the couple times I've had very important things in movies and shows spoiled for me, and how it made me feel. It's like I did everything I could to try to watch it as soon as possible.
Who else we got? We got figure drawing, Leonard Pig.
I was just trying to go back to make sure. Figure drawing. It is a first world problem, but I mean, I still think it's a problem. I still think it's an issue because we can, like a lot of things, we can police ourselves. Peter, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
That is the person that I went to see the movie with the second time.
Oh, nice. Right on. Right. Comic Tropes comes on our channel and
he just he cuts loose.
This is like where he comes to kind of air out that stuff he doesn't normally do on his channel. I love it.
By the way, his new video about Deadpool was amazing.
I need to watch that one. I was trying to avoid a lot of content. I mean, I knew he wouldn't put spoilers in his video, but I still was just trying to pull back and not watch that kind of content because I wanted to kind of go in fresh. All I did was I watched the first 2 movies leading up to that film coming out, and then I went and watched it. But I need to go watch it now. I'm excited to check it out. Leonard, how's it going? I think we did say hi to you earlier, but Shadow Rat's also in the house. Cool.
I didn't catch that. I thought it said Lion King the first time. It said the Lion King.
I'll tell you what, folks. At some point on social media this week, I'll release I think I put it up a long time ago, but I'll re-release the image of me changing over the marquee.
That's
some
hilarious.
kind of fun content. Yeah, I know it's not about the movies, but it was just one of those things where I get fatigue in the build up to some of these big releases, like for the Star Wars, the Marvel stuff, that kind of content. So I try to just like go in as fresh as possible. In general, I'm weird about it. Like I don't want to watch past the teaser and the first trailer. I try to avoid like all the extra trailers that come out with extra footage and that kind of stuff. Zero spoilers about the movie, but a character in the movie works at a parody of my actual job and is presented as being an underachiever. That hit close to home. I could see where that could be the case, man. Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about too. So that is, I could see that.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, that's kind of our thoughts about the movie. I think we should probably jump into the San Diego Comic-Con segment. That's most of our show. We do have a couple other topics. I'll kind of tease them ahead of time for people that are thinking, are we just talking about SDCC? No, we do have a couple other things. Well, actually, the primary thing is we have a CGC, the comic grading company, CGC. They have a other bit of news about a lawsuit, and they actually lost a lawsuit. So we'll talk about that after the SDCC stuff if we have enough time, or at least talk about it briefly. Before I dive into the first article, remember to do hashtag SDCC for your chance to win a couple comic graphic novels. Well, one of them is kind of a graphic novel. The other one's more of a encyclopedia, right? So yeah. Marvel Encyclopedia, Spider-Man, and then Fantastic Four, which we'll talk about some Fantastic Four in a second. That's the authoritative action. So you can just win that for free. All you got to do, hashtag SDCC in the chat.
I see actual Dracula in the chat. So
oh, nice.
We do have an art segment coming up later in the show too. So
yeah, we'll be sharing some community artwork. And community artwork, I mean, is people that watch our show that have shared artwork with us. And we have a couple pieces from several community members, including actual Dracula. So that's really fun. So, okay, the first thing that I wanted to talk about here, let me pull this up. Ad blocker notification there. And let me present this for everybody so you can see what I'm seeing.
Do you see what I see?
And that is, this one actually kind of caught me by surprise. I did not see a whole lot of DC stuff come out of Comic-Con. Maybe that was just me. I know Bigby shared something before the show we'll talk about in a minute with me that I'm glad he shared. But this was kind of the big DC news that I saw.
Yeah, that was, I think, kind of the big, I didn't really see a lot of DC stuff.
And when I say news, I have to use it kind of loosely because I mean, it is news. They did change their logo, but it obviously is a very, very, very retro logo.
I've always loved that logo, though.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
so iconic.
I wish Marvel would kind of go similar and go back to. I'm trying to scroll along the right here, make sure there's no spoilers. By the way, it's Variety, so I don't think they would necessarily. But yeah, basically they just. I saw James Gunn did like a little announcement video from SDCC, basically saying like, if you're a fan of DC, this is not going to be a surprising move to you, or you're not going to be surprised by this logo because it's going to look familiar. And yeah, it's very true. It's just an iconic logo. I'm so glad to see them go back to this. Yeah, there would. You know what? You're right, Alberto. The Penguin. They had a new trailer for the Penguin. They had a trailer for the new animated Creature. Is it Creature Commandos? Is that the right title?
Yeah, Creature Commandos.
Creature Commandos, which is what you shared with me before the show. I haven't seen that trailer yet, and there was a trailer for something else too. But you know, no Superman trailer that I saw at least. Which kind of was
the thing that I shared with you was the Jim Lee artwork for the new Creature Commandos series.
Oh, right on. Yeah, and it is a great logo. What's on the Comic Rec? I agree. Yeah, grew up with that logo, and I mean, it is slightly modernized, of course, but and I know
people call it the bullet logo because it's like the end of where the firing pin hits on the bullet.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the name I've heard for it before too. It's very much like that, and it's also I guess the newsworthy bit, if there's anything to this other than just them changing their logo, is James Gunn was reiterating that this is kind of a way to help kind of unify comics, games, movies, and TV series and animation kind of all under one logo. So, I think it's a pretty smart move. I think a lot of people want to see DC return to form, and maybe this is kind of a symbolic part of that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I'm in favor of it.
I think they're doing a good thing, like branding and trying to reestablish themselves in the market.
Yeah. There was a Hellboy teaser, but I don't think that had anything to do with DC. And that actually came out a while ago. Maybe there was a new teaser that came out too?
I think there was a new teaser. I have not had a chance to see that yet. I saw it pop up on my YouTube feed, but I haven't had a chance to watch it.
I love it, but the animated version features 1938 Superman breaking a chain. I wonder if that's to help protect the rights as it enters public domain. That's true. Yeah, that's true, because they show... I think at the very end of the James Gunn clip I saw, they showed the animated version, and I didn't know if that was just a way to introduce it or if that was actually part of the animation. That's actually a good point. That could help defend the copyright and extend it. But I mean, at the same time, that's also kind of a smart move,
right? So
the previous one was a few different iterations of them doing like a D and a C next to each other, with the C being like a page turning, kind of like turning in on itself.
Swirl.
Yeah. And they've done like 3 slightly modified versions of that, I feel like, since that was introduced. And Superman and Lois. Oh, that's okay. So there's a few TV things. I mean, I don't want to like say that's not newsworthy, because of course, it's news from Comic-Con, but I feel like Marvel and Hall H and all that, which we'll get to in a second here, just dominated the news cycle, I guess, is more my point. But thank you. I do appreciate you bringing up those other things that were brought up. That's important. Hey, we got Comic Collector Geek in the chat as well. What's up, Alan? How's it going? Speaking of Superman, logo coming out of stuff.
I might be responsible for that.
And we got Collector P, and I saw Brandon jumping here as well. Hey, folks, how's it going? Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is something near and dear to my heart. Just update the webpage that I'm sharing here so you folks can see how glorious this thing is. Oh, pop up. You are visiting the Hasbro Pulse United States website. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
I want to check out the G.I. Joe Classified Series Cobra Rattler Ground Attack Jet.
I have always loved that toy.
Oh, I loved the Rattler. Let me see if I can. Is that? Whoa, that was weird. Okay, there we go. It's a little bit better.
There we go. Weasel's head or helmet comes off.
Yeah, you get a couple different alternate heads for Wild Weasel. This is supreme. This is really cool as a fan. There are a few critiques I'll get to that I have for this campaign. I know a lot of other people do too. But yeah, like I back the Rattler. That Baroness figure looks incredible. You know, I'll show that in a second. I skipped the Hiss tank, and I did get the Dragonfly. So and the Rattler is one of my favorite vehicles of all time. So I backed this thing right away. It'll go great with the Dragonfly, even though they're not, you know, Sky Striker and Rattler are probably the better comparisons. But
that's one of the best issues of G.I. Joe is that issue with Weasel and Baroness and Lady J and Ace. That whole issue is freaking amazing, and it's just aerial combat. I was just like blown away as a kid reading that issue.
This thing is just insane. $324.99 here in the United States. We did hit the first unlock tier, which I'll show the picture. It's a little bit larger down below in a second. It's 11,000 backers, and we get some squadron patches. The next tier is a gunner figure that goes in the back gunner seat, or wherever you want. And then, like Comic Trips was saying, 18,000 backers, you're going to get the Baroness figure. So I'll show the larger pictures of that here. You do have electronics package, including a removable panel that has like electronics damage behind it. This to me is one of the coolest things about this, because the size is obviously a problem,
right?
Or a good thing, depending on how you look at it, right? This thing's basically like 3 feet, 34 inches long by 33 inches wide. But they added this feature where you can fold up the wings, not just fold up for vertical takeoff and landing, but actually fold the wings up. Like you kind of pop them out and then they swing up, which is kind of like what you would do like on an aircraft carrier for some vehicles anyway. So that's believable, and it'll make it a lot easier to store on shelves, or just to have around if you don't want to have it just dominating your shelf or whatever, however you're going to display this. And of course, it does have the vertical takeoff and landing. It has, I think, every feature the original toy had, like the panels that were removed on the original toy, remove on this. It has light up HUD in the cockpit.
So cool. That's so cool.
Yeah. In the gunner cockpit, you got Wild Weasel, tons and tons of armament, just like the original toy had, with some extra cool stuff there. There's the gunner compartment lit up. And then I want to show, these are some of the effects that come off there, which is really cool. I want to show the Baroness figure stand included, which the stand has storage in it, which is really nice. There we go. So there's the kind of other figures included as the bonus tiers. And then here's the patches. Now, this is kind of one of the controversial things. People are pretty upset about this. The patches as the first unlock tier, I get it. It's pretty lackluster, and I hope there's been some discussion in the community. I hope this is a project where they end up adding some tiers, because I think this is getting fully funded through all 3 tiers at the rate it's going right now.
Right.
People are buying multiples because they're, I'll say awesome and I'll say crazy, but either way,
they're army builders.
Yeah, exactly. There's the Baroness figure, which is freaking sweet.
They had like a sweet pic with all 3 of the figs like standing. She had all her gear on. Oh, there we go. That's pretty cool.
There's that picture, and then her in the cockpit. Somebody pointed out on a forum I'm on, it's a really good, like if you zoom in on this, the costume underneath that is probably going to be recolored to be a first appearance G.I. Joe issue 1 Baroness costume with like the lighter blue,
nice.
Because it has some of the same costume detailing under that vest. I I won't play the video just because I think we've kind of seen most of what there is to see here, but it is a very, very cool thing.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
That is one of the best issues, especially in that part of the run, that kind of chunk of the run.
I was blown away by just how they were able to isolate that aspect of combat and just one whole issue on that was just so amazing.
Yeah. The Baroness figure is what everyone wants, and it's tier 3. Does HasLab ever add more? So they have added more tiers. It has happened with one of the Transformers campaigns that somebody was discussing. I'm taking their word for it. I'm sure they're right. And because I love Transformers, but I don't follow like the high-end Transformers toys. So they have done it before, and I think they did it for one other campaign, but I can't recall what it was. So I could see them doing it. And I think, the Baroness is and it makes sense. You want your last stretch goal to be something really cool to encourage people to go for that unlock tier. But that first tier, like the first tier should have been the figure. And then the second tier, I don't know, you could throw the patches in with something. I don't think it necessarily has to be another figure. Maybe it's different bomb effects, or maybe it's different armament, or like a fuel tank or something. I don't know. But it's just one of those things where I think the patches themselves are cool, but I just don't see it being a draw for me. Throwing like a reprint or a new cover art kind of reprint of that. I think that's issue 34 or something like that of the comic series. Throwing something like that
coming down on the tank.
I think the one I'm thinking of, maybe I have the wrong cover in mind, but the one I'm thinking of is the one with Lady J and Ace in the cover and the Rattlers coming in below him.
Okay, that's the issue that I'm talking about. But the first appearance of the Rattler is it's coming down on the what can I think of the name of the tank?
Is it a Mobat?
Mobat, yeah, it's Mobat. It's like issue 20 something.
Gotcha. Okay. But yeah, it's a very cool thing for those of us that are lucky enough to have the kind of income to spend on that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. And then hey, it is a backer campaign thing, right? So one thing that I'll do real fast is we need to take a little ad break. I mentioned earlier we are streaming on the EXP, which is a partner channel. I used to be over there doing Devil's Advocates. This show has taken that time slot. I'm here with Bigby now, and we're all together. It's awesome. But one of the things that happens on the EXP is we show advertisements for future programs that are coming up for comic book advertisers they have. So I'm going to run that first ad right now, and we'll see you back in a couple minutes. We'll talk about more San Diego Comic-Con news. So stay tuned, everybody.
Order Battle Quest comics at your local comic shop today.
According to a statistic that I just made up, people spend 4 hours a day changing the television channel. People who watch The Experience don't do that. Save yourself a ton of time by tuning into The Experience and enjoying our new original programming 7 days a week. And then tell your friends. Think about the money they could save on batteries in the remote alone, just by tuning into The Experience. Find out more by scanning the QR code below.
Live from New York. What? Oh, sorry. Live from Cleveland? It's Friday night? It's Friday Night Live! with Nancy McCann and Ricky. And sometimes Carlos. And featuring boxes and boxes of rare comics. Unique collectibles. Lots of smiles and conversations with new friends. Friday Night Live with Comics Unlimited. Friday night from 9 to 11 on The Experience.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Again, you are watching Best Coast Comics. I'm Bronze Age Nerd. That's Bigby McFly, the comic book guy. Together, we are over here on the Best Coast, holding it down for comic book news and resources, talking about all kinds of nerd culture stuff. We are discussing in this episode a recap of the San Diego Comic-Con stuff that happened. And speaking of San Diego Comic-Con, I believe somebody just dropped in that was definitely there. Swaggle House was over at San Diego Comic-Con from what I saw. Hey, Mickey, how's it going? Let us know if you saw anything cool at SDCC that you want to share with us, because love hearing the firsthand accounts, and that's true for anybody in the chat. So we definitely appreciate that.
For sure.
And sorry, I was just reading our backstage chat. Good reminder here, we are not doing any spoilers for the current phenomenon that is Deadpool and Wolverine out there. So please don't do that in the chat, regardless of what we bring up on the show. Even if you're like, oh, hey, that reminds me of something in the movie. Well, go ahead and DM me and Bigby about it afterwards. Or you can head on over to my Discord where you can spoiler tag stuff and we can talk about that there. Link in the description below.
Hit us on IG or whatever.
Yeah.
Too. Love to talk to you about it.
There you go. Comic Tropes knows what's up. He hits both like and subscribe. Be like Comic Tropes. So the next bit of news from San Diego Comic-Con, that was kind of the last non-Hall H MCU Marvel kind of thing that I kind of thought about from San Diego Comic-Con. This next bit, we kind of start diving into some of that, which is something we've talked about on the show before. This comes from us from entertainment.com. And this is the mystery solved of who Giancarlo Esposito is playing in the MCU, which we theorized about it when it was announced. I mean, we talked about back when he talked about playing Magneto possibly, playing Professor Xavier possibly. And now everyone thought he was going to play GW Bridge. That was the rumor that was out for a while. And he finally told us who he's going to be. He is going to be the leader of the Serpent Society, Sidewinder, which I definitely didn't expect. Is that what you expected?
No. Are we breaking our own rule of no spoilers?
Well, they're talking about it on stage at Hall H and putting it on YouTube. I think we're okay. But yeah, I mean, there are people out there that think that's spoilers. At some point, I don't know what we can do. It's, he's on stage saying it himself.
Right. No, I get you.
Yeah, this was kind of surprising to me. Although I'll admit, GW Bridge would have been an odd choice too. I know a lot of people have thought about Serpent Society coming for a while, and there were some rumors attached to Thunderbolts for Serpent Society. So, I guess it wasn't too far off. Maybe some of those leaks were correct, or, hey, maybe a wrong clock is right twice a day kind of a thing. A broken clock is right twice a day. But yeah, so he announced on stage that he's Seth Volker. Look, I'll be honest. Serpent Society has never been my favorite set of villains. I'm sorry to all the Serpent Society fans out there. But I do think it's interesting because it is a wide range of characters, gives them some flexibility. And I always, when it comes to these MCU news things like this, I always, I wait to see what happens in the film. I mean, Giancarlo Esposito is a fantastic actor. He could bring a lot to pretty much any role. So I have faith in this for sure, but interesting choice. So any other thoughts on that one, Bigby? Oh, you're muted, by the way. That explains why I haven't heard you for a minute.
Hey, there we go. He definitely looks different than the character in the comics.
Yeah. I don't know. Is there a shot of just him from the trailer in here? Oh, that's kind of
sunglasses and a machine gun, from what I've
yeah.
seen.
Yeah, I didn't. There's like one prominent shot of him in the trailer where he's just wearing like a leather coat, and he's got an AR-15 or something like that, and that's pretty
Looking
much
badass.
Yeah, I don't. That's the thing, is I definitely don't think
They'll probably try to stay close to his power set, I would think.
Yeah,
So.
It'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting to see how they do Serpent Society, like they did Wrecking Crew in a very interesting way, like in She-Hulk, for example. So, and I don't know. I think of those as being kind of somewhat similar tiers of villain.
He hit a nerve with swag.
Is that one of his like favorite teams or something? And he didn't like how they did it. Oh, I think you probably have a mic problem. Okay, I'll let you fix that.
And my headphones were doing that click, click, click thing.
Oh, I got you. Not you're back though.
Yeah, that's one of his favorite teams.
Interesting. Okay. Well,
he likes those ground level villains.
Yeah.
So,
and I like a lot of them too, but there's some that just never resonated with me the same way that other people did. Like, it depends on, like, I really liked Cardiac. I don't think there's a lot of Cardiac fans out there.
Right.
But he's like kind of one of those cool kind of street level villains.
Swag says he's
Well, Swag, you have an open invitation. If you want to come on here and defend Serpent Society, you are more than welcome to make your return to the show and defend them. I understand.
No, it would be Serpent Society, Wrecking Crew.
Oh yeah. Sorry. I got Wrecking Crew or Serpent Society on my mind. And then while you're at it, you can even pump up Darkhawk #1 some more, so you can get that thing influenced. We all know you're trying to do that behind the scenes. Just kidding. Hey, what's up, Roscoe? Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. Roscoe, did you ever unbox that stuff that we sent you? I was just curious. I want to go see whatever stream that was part of, and I didn't notice anything yet, so just curious. Okay, so again, final reminder I'll give for the next little bit of the show. No spoilers tonight, but there is an interesting article that did come out of SDCC, which is that a celebrity was actually trapped in an elevator for a while. So this is interesting. Jennifer Garner got stuck inside an elevator for over an hour at Comic-Con.
Wow.
Yeah, which is rough. I don't like to play like people's Instagram feeds or whatever, but she streamed and she was like singing like 99 bottles of beer on the wall, and like it's pretty funny, like watching the stream and going through and like seeing her go from like standing up and being kind of like chipper about it to like sitting on the floor of the elevator to like starting to sweat because it's getting hot in the elevator.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine that would suck.
Yeah, it is absolutely, like, one of my worst fears is being trapped in an elevator. There was I think it ended up being fake, but when I was in my like teenage years or early 20s, there was a video circulating around somebody that got stuck in an elevator to the point where they had to like start using the bathroom in the elevator, and like it was like days, and that's absolutely one of my worst fears, to be stuck there. Like, I always think too, if I'm getting on an elevator and I'm like, oh man, I haven't eaten in a while, or I don't have any water with me, or something like that. I'm like, oh God, could you imagine? That would be terrible.
Isn't there a Shyamalan flick with that?
Oh, is there?
People? Yeah, it's a whole group of people and they're stuck with the devil in the elevator.
Oh, is that a Shyamalan movie?
Yeah, it's a Shyamalan flick. Yeah.
I never saw that. I know what you're talking about now, though. Yeah, interesting. And for the next thing, I don't really have like an article to pull up for the next bit, but this was like the heart of Hall H, which is basically Fantastic Four news and Thunderbolts news. And the best stuff that I could really do would be like to play that part of the video, but I'm not going to do that just because we're here to talk about it, not to show stuff about it. And they don't really, the only thing that was really cool visually during the Fantastic Four presentation at Hall H, there was a Fantasticar that came in, which was kind of cool. Like they had it like floating in on a gurney or something, probably, but it looked like it was flying. Hey,
Yeah,
maybe it was
pretty
that
cool.
Marvel money, real special effects.
Yeah.
And then they
Keeping
had
things from us.
and then they had David Harbour showed up in costume as Red Guardian as kind of a joke.
That was hilarious. He's like,
yeah.
I thought you guys said to dress up. I'm like, no, dress nicely.
And then he like shows up on the panel like in his regular clothes a few minutes later. But we can talk about what they discussed on the stage, which, you know, there's no spoilers there unless you think that kind of stuff is spoilers. And for Fantastic Four, which to me was kind of the meatier presentation, although we didn't really get a whole lot of detail about plot, but we did find out setting, which has been, it's been out there for a while, but it's been completely confirmed that this movie is taking place in the 60s, but it's an alternate history, retro futuristic society 60s.
Right.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
I believe Bigby has seen some stuff floating around on the interwebs that I have not seen about some of the visuals there, but
There was a leaked trailer, yes. If you guys go to YouTube, there is a leaked trailer if you're into that kind of thing.
there you go. Yeah, so it sounds interesting. I like that this is an alternate history, or at least set in the past, because hopefully the whole setup there is something that will help explain why the Fantastic Four haven't been part of what we've been seeing in the MCU this whole time. Because with X-Men and Fantastic Four, it feels weird just to be like, and here's their origin story, and they were there all along but didn't do anything, right? Like those things feel out of place.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is a great, interesting way to introduce that team.
I think we're going to see Secret Wars as a way to kind of meld everything together.
Totally.
After, just because, you know, because Marvel sold off all those different rights back in the day to try to bail themselves out of the trouble they were in. So, yeah.
And we'll definitely get to a little bit of that here with the main next news that everyone's talking about, which is not a surprise for most people probably. But yeah, I will say the cast, at least they seem to be expressing a lot of chemistry, or admitting that they were finding themselves having a lot of good chemistry, which is important.
They looked like they were really gelling pretty well in the trailer. So
yeah, that's cool. They seem to be, you know, saying it was a fun experience. A couple of the actors were talking about source material, talking to other actors inside the MCU for advice, that kind of stuff. Very cool. I'm happy to see that. I'm excited we need Fantastic Four. We need X-Men. The world's not complete without them. So
right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I hope they don't go too far into the origin story, because we've seen it now in how many movies?
Yeah. Origin story has definitely been done.
Right.
And I think MCU has a pretty good track record of that, though. Like Homecoming, I think, is a really good origin story without telling the origin story for Spider-Man, for example.
Right.
And I think that, you know, they've had a good track record with that, for characters that we've seen that origin for. And I mean, with Fantastic Four, I mean, this is like what, the fourth iteration?
Fourth iteration, yeah. We didn't get to see the Corman one, right? But I mean,
yeah,
we did, but we didn't.
Right. Not officially, but it's out there.
Right. Another thing you can find on the YouTube.
Yeah. Yep. And that one doesn't get taken down.
No, it's actually on there legit. So
yeah,
it's not great, but it's on there.
and it's not great, but it's actually better if you just watch it and you think about when that came out.
Yeah,
it actually isn't that bad for that time period.
Right. Yeah.
It takes itself seriously when it should.
Right.
The special effects and the budget are like the things you can complain about, which are understandable. But then again, a lot of stuff that came out around that time wasn't that high budget anyway.
Well, you think about like even the worst movie, like it takes work to make a movie, and some people really put their heart and soul into working on that movie. So it's like, even the worst movie, there were some people who really worked hard on that.
Yeah. Well, and kind of notoriously, those actors in that Roger Corman Fantastic Four, they didn't know, you know, and I think a lot of the crew and stuff didn't know that wasn't going to be a real, you know, released movie.
Right.
So they worked as hard as they wanted, and I think they did a fine job. But I will say it's funny, the next iteration that had, you know, Chris Evans and Michael Chiklis and Ian Griffith and Jessica Alba, those two films, as the cast. I thought they were bad at the time, but in retrospect, they have aged wonderfully.
They're not terrible. I loved, what was it? Is it Chiklis, the guy that played the Thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him as the Thing. He was a great selection for that role. Yeah,
I like, for me, that was I wished superhero movies could look better kind of era for superhero movies, and you know, eventually we got there, right? Like, so I think I have a lot of faith in what could happen now. But if that cast was in their prime today and they came back for it, I bet you we'd be getting an amazing movie from them. They did a good job. And yeah, the Silver Surfer part of Rise of the Silver Surfer was cool. Like, there's that one shot where he melds through his surfboard and like comes out the other end of it.
Right.
Like,
I remember seeing that back in the day. That was sweet.
Yeah. But then you have like Galactus as a cloud, right? Like, there's just
yeah, that was terrible. And they teased that with the shadow, even like that looked like the helmet back in the day, and then
it's just a cloud.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, I mean, really, just based on what I'm seeing in the chat, not a ton of people are going off on that topic. So that's cool. That's fine. That's totally fine. We'll get to the big thing that I want to talk about the most tonight. I think a lot of people, it's on their minds. And that is this news. Robert Downey Jr., RDJ, is coming back to the MCU. He is not coming back as Iron Man. He is in fact coming back as Doctor Doom, which if you haven't seen this by now, I'm really excited to see your reaction. But most people know about it.
Yeah, it's really ionized the community. A lot of people are saying it's lazy casting. A lot of people are like, you know, I don't know.
It's a weird one for sure. It is. I've seen a lot of negativity around this announcement that I don't really understand, honestly. And I think there's some of that negativity is coming from, there's some speculation or some curiosity of whether or not he might play a version of Tony Stark as Doctor Doom. And I don't think there's any indication that that's true.
Yeah. I've seen some people posting some comic backing for that, where it's like like a Marvel team up issue where Doom takes off his mask and he says, you called me Victor earlier, and he takes off his mask. He's like, surely you recognize your old friend Tony Stark, but he's got the scars and everything on his face like Doom. So
and some people are kind of like, saw the Otaku Tour guy, by the way. Hello, and thanks for watching, Otaku. The casting makes no sense. I've seen that take a lot. Will he be using? This is the perfect example, Timothy, of the kind of question. It's like, we don't know. That's the thing,
right?
We have no idea if this is on its face real casting, as in they've just decided to cast Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. But you also got to remember, if the Fantastic Four retro movie is taking place in the 60s, I mean, the movie that's going to happen, it's called Avengers Doomsday. And by the way, the other huge part of this is that the Russo brothers are coming back, which they famously did a lot of the most successful entries in the MCU. Some of people's favorites, like Infinity War and Endgame, and Civil War, and they've got a Winter Soldier. They've got a really good track record in the MCU, and seeing them jump on board as this, because what it is this is the movie they decided they needed to do in order to tell Secret Wars. This is their words,
right?
Which is the movie they wanted to do all along. I think it's because Anthony Russo, I think, is obsessed with Secret Wars, is like a big part of it. I'm sure that's not all of it, but apparently that's been the thing they've wanted to do the whole time. The thing that would bring them back to doing the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it could take place in the 60s for all we know, or like that's where that Doom could come from. It could be a variant. It could be Stark as Iron Man. It could be like an infamous Iron Man thing. There's a lot of different stories it could be. It could be none of those.
Right.
And somebody in a private chat was saying, well, if we see Robert Downey Jr.'s face and all the time, and I'm so sorry if you were watching this show and you see, I'm kind of referencing your comment like this, but this is what I told you in the private chat. If we see Robert Downey Jr.'s face all the time, it's just going to make me think of Tony Stark, and I'm not going to be able to buy it. If we're seeing Victor Von Doom's face all the time, then they're not doing Doom right.
Right. It should be like at some dramatic moment where he takes off the mask, maybe.
Yeah. Or, if you show his origin in college, but I mean, unless they de-age him again, which they could do, of course, it doesn't make any sense to show him outside of the mask unless he's unscarred in this version. There are some scenarios, but Robert Downey Jr. can act. I'm sure he can do a villain. I'm sure he's wanted to do a villain. His voice can be different enough, I'm sure. Right. So I'm reserving tons of judgment here. But I also get there's people that are like, why not just cast another actor? That's the big reaction I've seen the most.
Mr. Akins just said that. I sent him a meme this morning of it. It was I'm just a dude playing another dude who's playing another dude.
Yeah. Well, 100%. The Tropic Thunder memes are amazing. And they've been around for a while with several of the MCU casting news things.
I think people are really there was a lot of really big name actors that were rumored to play Doom. And so I think a lot of people were let down by the fact that none of those guys got it. And then, a lot of the other negativity that I've heard is the FOMO around like the infamous Iron Man issue and the other books. So people are just like, yeah, come on, guy. They're like, who knows if that's even going to be how it plays out. So there's a lot of that. So.
The latest I heard is that he's just flat out playing Victor. Okay, that could be interesting too.
There you go.
Yeah, I am definitely like, I'm with anybody that has concerns about something like this. Like, I get it. But I also, part of me is just, it's just like, it's Robert Downey Jr. coming back to the MCU. Right. With the Russo brothers. I think that buys a little faith from me, at least, that there's going to be a good reason here.
Red Chair's comment there. I think that's my friend Marcus.
Okay, nice. Nice.
But yeah, it's a story that they tell. Let's reserve judgment. I mean,
yeah,
it's a great actor, and I think that, let's see what they do with it.
Well, and Comic Tropes brings up a good point here too. He's a great actor that you trust, but you don't want the MCU to rush Doctor Doom. He's their best villain, and I mean that's what I heard on Hall H. Is he's the most important, in the Russo brothers' words, he's the most important character in Marvel Cinematic Universe at this point. Is how they're viewing it.
Right.
So,
right.
That's where my trust comes from. I totally get that it's not popular with everybody, and it should be concerning. It should raise some alarm bells as far as casting goes. I don't want to see, I'm the guy who didn't want to see Hugh Jackman play Wolverine for a bunch of more films, for example. I've been saying that for a long time. I was okay with this movie, and I'm sure there'll be other ways that they can bring back other actors and stuff that is respectful to those characters. But I don't want to see people, I definitely don't want to see Tony Stark back.
Well, that's been rumored. That's been rumored for Secret Wars. It'd be interesting if we had RDJ Tony Stark fighting RDJ Doctor Doom.
Well, and that's the thing is I'm okay with a multiverse. If we're doing the Secret Wars storyline, if you have a different version of Tony Stark, great. What I don't want is after the merging for it to be like, and Tony Stark's back. Right. And maybe I'll change my mind if that does happen, but it seems cheap. It's kind of like comic book deaths. When you bring him back, it cheapens the impact of the death, right? Right. And I think that's kind of maybe what we're rubbing up against as movie fans and comic book fans is I don't know. I want to respect the sanctity of an on-screen death. But story always wins for me. So if the story they're telling is better than the impact of it being like going back on what they've told, great. That's just my opinion, I guess. Well, so like this is what we're running up against is multiverse stuff where that's going to make, death is less permanent, right? Because we're going to be able to just, this is so and so from another universe or whatever, right? Also, I thought like though that we had Gamora's death, and then we have her back from another timeline, and I thought how even though it's Gamora, she hasn't had the same experiences and everything, so she's a completely different person. So I thought that's a good point. Interesting too. Yeah, I guess, and I think that's kind of maybe part of where my hesitation comes from is because you've done it once, and they did do it carefully. I will give them that much. It's been, especially when you come to like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it wasn't like they just were like, and she's back. No, it was very well done as far as because he would be a completely different person. But that's a well that I think if you go to too often, it is a slippery slope. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But Secret Wars definitely gives Marvel, anybody who's read the comics for Secret Wars, it gives them a chance to course correct some things or to kind of, massively change the direction that things could head afterwards in terms of who plays who and all that kind of stuff. And can you say Miles Morales? Yeah. Exactly. So there's a couple questions in chat that I cannot wait to get to. Before I do that, though, we do need to take our second ad break. So we're going to show that series of ads real fast. I see some awesome comments in chat that I promise we will get to after the ad break. So please stay tuned so I can highlight those excellent comments and we can talk about them. Here we go. We'll see you in about 2 minutes.
So the show is called The Geek. Chat. And really, there's just a couple of geeks.
I'm Rich.
I'm Dez.
And we are your hosts for this weekly guide into comic bookery and all the geeky stuff that goes with it.
And that pretty much says it all. They talk about the latest movies and shows.
Okay, I'll be completely honest with you. Overall, D+ movie.
So the end. Did you know who that is?
That's She-Ra, yeah.
Yes.
The new #1 comics of the week.
We rep Samuel Jackson and we rep Mace Windu.
I passed on this. I was like...
No regrets.
I really wanted to like this book. I really did. Like, I really did.
And just chat with each other. And with you.
Oh, Daniel says, I dozed off with the first one. I have zero interest in the Joker Harley ship, not Harley herself. Enjoy, not for me. Yeah, this movie's gonna be rough for me to sit through, I'll be honest.
The Geek Chat, Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just a couple of honest geeks.
Let's be honest. Come on.
And that is why people watch us, because we're honest.
Giving their honest opinions.
And the thing you always have to remember about the internet is everyone has an opinion, and they all suck.
Part of the experience.
What do you call the place on Spider-Man's wrists where the webs come out? His website. I hate myself for writing that joke, but you'd make me feel so much better if you just visited our website. We have links to our merch, new release lists, all the show info, and so much more. TheEXPLive.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed some of the other entertainment you can check out over on the EXP. Which, by the way, if you're not subscribed over on the EXP channel or Bigby's channel or my channel, all those links are in the description below. I highly recommend going and checking out all the excellent content that are on those other channels, because you could be watching us right now on any of those channels, because we're on all those channels live right now. So. We have some fantastic comments in chat that I cannot wait to get to. However, I have to, because there's two things I want to remind you about. The first is, if you enter hashtag SDCC in chat, you got a chance to win a couple awesome trade paperbacks. Well, I keep saying that. One awesome trade paperback, Fantastic Four, Authoritative Action, and also a Marvel Encyclopedia Spider-Man volume, which is a hardcover, still sealed and everything. So couple of fun books that you could win, and every single time somebody wins one of those, I throw in some extra raw comic books, comic book collectible cards. You might get stickers, you might get a little art. I throw in all kinds of stuff, so I highly recommend entering in for a chance to win one of those free packages. All you got to do is hashtag SDCC in chat. The last thing I want to say is, do stay tuned towards the end of the show, because we are going to feature some community art in the show. We are going to talk about CGC after we get done with some of this San Diego Comic-Con Robert Downey Jr. Dr. Doom news. So let's get back to some of those comments. Timothy said, at some point it's going to be Iron Man fighting Doom in Secret Wars. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense from a storytelling perspective. I can see that. What's on the Comic Rack says, if someone can introduce a great character, the Russo brothers can do it. Think about how they introduced Black Panther. It was perfect. That's a really good point. Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Otaku says, does it make sense to build a studio with Iron Man, then flip the script and make him a villain? I think it can make sense.
Yeah. And what better villain than
the best villain?
That's the worst betrayal. It's the best villain, right?
Yeah. It is definitely surprising for sure. And I think there was a comment earlier too that I won't go back and try to find, but there was a comment earlier that too, like, there's no saying that this is the final Doctor Doom that we're going to get in the MCU either. We don't know that. Ferd Bird says, I feel if RDJ is coming back, they're going to pay him a lot. So to make up for that, it will be written very well. So there's an undercurrent to this comment that I want to point out, and it has to do with money and Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr., from what I've seen him say in certain interviews, you can't, he's an amazing actor. I would never say like he's necessarily putting it all out there for everybody. He might be just saying certain things to make himself look a certain way. That's possible, I guess. But he seems to basically have been like, hey, I'm kind of done with this character. Like, if I want to take it to its conclusion, it's not about the money, because he knew he could have kept getting paid to play Iron Man in movies. Right. So I don't really think it's, and I'm not saying this is all Ferdbird's comment is about, but this is something I've heard a lot is, oh, he's coming back for the money. I'm sure he's going to be paid very handsomely, of course. But I think as an actor, he's excited about playing something different than Iron Man, because he doesn't want to be known as Iron Man forever. That was a big part of what he revealed when he talked about playing Iron Man. Right. Even though he will be at this point, like, let's face it, that's a huge part of who he is.
He doesn't want to be pigeonholed, I guess.
Do you think that even though the next Avengers is Doomsday, that it could still use Kang? Maybe that does still make sense now that I mull it over. What do you think, Bigby?
Yeah, they could. I mean, you could definitely see some behind the scenes stuff going on, or maybe, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the Kang stuff is it's in disarray on its own right now with the Jonathan Majors. That's an easy recast.
I could see that's where we get Tony Stark, Iron Man from another timeline. Kang bringing him in. Tony Stark as Doom. So could be.
Yeah, there's probably one of two things will happen from what I see is either they just completely drop the Kang thing, which I think the wheels are so far in motion, I don't see that happening, but I guess it's possible. Or they have to change actors and probably change direction somewhat. I don't think Kang was popular enough for them to like put all their eggs in that basket and keep going with it. But they probably have to wrap up some loose ends. I will say, like, Loki season 2 definitely made the Kang thing much more interesting to me than, like, for example, which I did not care for as much personally, and I think that's kind of the general perception of it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if how Kang is used going forward, if at all, which I think he probably will be. But this is a very poetic comment. The man who played the character that kicked off the MCU is now playing the character who could help end it. It's very interesting. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
And yeah, Red Chair, story is king. I'm mostly, that's how I feel. Story is king. How you interpret that story, I guess, is the only wiggle room for me. Like some people will interpret it differently based on who's playing the character and all that kind of stuff. But this one made me laugh. As long as it's not like Freaky Friday with Robert Downey Jr. That'd be crazy. Or it's Quantum Leap, and Tony Stark leaps into Victor Von Doom, and we just see his face the whole time. I don't know. Yeah, like Leonard's talking about Michael B. Jordan was Human Torch, then Killmonger. Yeah, but like Jay was saying, those are different like cinematic universes, basically. Miles' introduction is definitely, I think we're coming up to it. I think there's going to be some kind of introduction for Miles soon.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the writing's on the wall with the Secret Wars thing, but we'll see.
Nick Barucci says, any Dynamite news? Well, as a matter of fact, yes, there was actually some Dynamite news. Absolutely. Yeah, we should definitely cover some of the Dynamite news here. There was, I guess for me, I didn't even necessarily think of it because so much of it broke before SDCC. But yeah, we should cover some of the big news they had as well here in a little bit. Thanks to everybody dropping the SDCCs in the chat. Yeah. McFeely coming back to write Avengers is huge. Yeah, that's a good point too. That's a good point, right? There was some comments about writing earlier, and writing is extremely important.
And story, yeah, absolutely.
100%. Downey needs a new challenge. Actors get bored. I think that's a huge part of it, really. I really do. Yeah, you got a good point there too. There is some ancestral origin of Kang kind of stuff that can come into play.
I got to give Leonard props on his Legion flight ring there.
On what?
His Legion flight ring.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. It's kind of small on my screen, so that's awesome. And hoping the next leap is at least one person out there is with me on the Quantum Leap reference, and I appreciate that, Jay.
I got your Leap reference.
That is awesome. So yeah, I think in general, I understand this news has been, I guess to me, more surprisingly derisive in the community than I expected. Like I kind of expected to be kind of universally like, "Whoa, what the hell? That's cool."
Very polarizing.
Yeah, it has been very polarizing, and that surprised me to some extent. But I actually really appreciate everybody in chat sharing their concerns and criticisms, because it's been more pointed than some of the stuff I've seen online, which kind of just, I almost saw like the South Park rabble crowd kind of, like pitchforks, like you all have made some really good comments and some really good points. And I really do appreciate you expressing those, because it helps me understand, where you're coming from. And I understand the concern. I guess to me, the fact that I have the Russo brothers doing 2 new movies,
that's exciting.
That's extremely exciting to me. I'm excited about the FF. I guess we didn't really react to Thunderbolts that much. I'm not as excited for Thunderbolts based on what I've seen.
I think it looks pretty cool. I've heard the trailer was dropped there too, but I haven't seen anything. I saw a text breakdown of the trailer, which sounded pretty cool, actually. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm such a fan of the original Thunderbolts story and team,
right?
That it seems like it's a play on the concept of that. And maybe there's an extremely close storyline that I never read later in the Thunderbolts runs or something. But it just seems like every time I see the Thunderbolts cast, I think more like Dark Avengers than I do Thunderbolts.
Kind of, yeah, I could see that. I wouldn't be surprised to see Zemo involved in the Thunderbolts stuff that's going on. And so, we could get a fairly close, not entirely accurate Thunderbolts, but fairly close. So, only takes a couple little tweaks to make it more close to what happened.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I guess I'm just not as enthusiastic about that one, but it's also, I guess, was part of the trajectory of how the MCU was heading before some of the news and some of the recent stuff that's come out. And I'm more excited about that in general now. So if that falls in line, with where that's been going, then great. I really like Yelena. I liked her in Black Widow. I think she was probably the highlight of Black Widow, which I just rewatched recently, and it just refreshed me that she's an amazing part of that movie. She was
great in Hawkeye too. She was probably one of the high points of Hawkeye.
Yeah, good point. And we'll get to see some of it come together. I know everyone's excited about Sentry. So I guess there is some things to be excited about, but it feels a little strange. And it does make me wonder, it's not a secret because he's in the trailer for Captain America Brave New World, but Red Hulk, I wonder if they've been holding back that, Red Hulk was a part of the Thunderbolts at some point. So maybe there's some kind of, carryover that'll happen there. Maybe that's who they're going to fight or something. Who knows? Right. So
did you see that weird little tidbit of news about way back in Scary Movie 2? They had Leslie Nielsen was playing the president, and they were showing different people who had been president, and Harrison Ford had just been in Air Force One, so his painting was on the wall behind Leslie Nielsen. And in the trailer, Harrison Ford is playing the president, and they have a painting of Leslie Nielsen on the wall in the background.
Yeah, no, that was an extremely cool little nod. Yeah, and the video I saw that talked about it was almost more like the person who found this should get a medal, or it was the person that did it and they released it or something. But it was cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That is, yeah. Hang on, I'm going to pull up another website here in a minute. I just want to make sure there's no I'm kind of pre-scanning just to make sure there's no articles that have spoilers in the titles or that kind of thing.
Right, got to make sure we don't expose you guys to bad things.
Yeah.
Play Sentry? I'm not sure. Is that who's playing Sentry?
Is it Bill Pullman? I didn't recognize the actor off the top of my head when they showed him on stage. And I forgot to highlight Leonard's. Yeah, the quote that's been going around: "Different mask, same task" is interesting. Yes, yeah. That when the actor said he was playing Bob, for a split second, I thought Hydra Bob, and I was like, oh yeah, duh, it's gonna be Sentry, and they're just being kind of coy about it.
Right. And somebody said they're playing. What's her name? The first name of the gal who is
Fontaine?
Songbird.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Interesting. Bucky taking Fury's place like Original Sin. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the leader, he was on the panel at Hall H. He's going to be part of it as well. So he's ostensibly the villain or somebody they recruit to be part of it. I haven't seen the leaked trailer, so I don't know that kind of stuff yet. Yes. Yeah. So in this iteration, yes.
Yeah, and the original one, no. It was just the name that Zemo had come up with, right?
Yeah.
And then Marvel decided to make it a wrestling comic. For a little while. Those are actually valuable issues, though.
Yeah, there's some the Thunderbolt stuff is fascinating because I definitely didn't read, like, the Hawkeye was heavily involved with it at one point,
right?
As the leader, I remember that, not as as the leader of the team.
Yeah, once they outed them as villains, and they put in Hawkeye as the leader to try to lead this ragtag group of villains who wanted to be good,
So yeah, the article I was pulling up that I wanted to check for spoilers. Nick Barucci of Dynamite was in here and said, "Hey, you guys going to talk about the Dynamite news?" You know what? That's a good point because there was a lot of good Dynamite news. So we definitely want to talk about that. So Dynamite had some news, to put it mildly. So this article from ICV2, which is a great site if you want to look at like industry news, especially a lot of retailer stuff is in here usually. The 5 titles that Dynamite Comics pipeline for 2024, we have Ben 10, Captain Planet and the Planeteers, Thundar the Barbarian, Herculoids, and Dynomutt and Blue Falcon.
Wow.
And Tom Snagowski, who I interviewed on the channel, if you want to check out that interview, you can scroll back through the catalog on the Bronze Age Nerd channel and check it out. Is doing the Herculoids comic from Hanna-Barbera.
That's funny because I asked him about Herculoids when we had him on the channel.
Oh, are you thinking of the other Tom we interviewed recently? Because
when Nick was on, we were talking about
okay, gotcha.
IPs, and I was like, Herculoids, so yeah, that's interesting.
Nice. That is funny. Yeah, he had to play his cards close to the chest there. This is the first time ever with a comic. Yeah, and that is there's so many properties coming back that I'm so happy for fans of those franchises. Like for me, the one that sticks out for me, just because it's the one that I have the most close connection to, is Captain Planet, for example. Well, there hasn't been a whole lot of besides the Don Cheadle skit, which is clearly not official.
That's hilarious, though.
Yeah, there has not been a whole lot of Captain Planet news out there. So, one of the things, by the way, you talk about previous streams, Bigby was just talking about it. Highly recommend going back and checking out that stream where we had Nick on, which was 2 streams ago, on our feed for this show.
Great content.
Great conversation with him about handling of IPs and about the Kickstarter model, and a few different things really came up in that interview. It was probably the best 15-minute interview we've ever done on the channel. That's a joke because it was well over an hour, and it's well worth going back and watching.
It was really good.
Yeah, I'm sure you couldn't say at the time 100%. So it is just fantastic to see their handling of IP. They do a really good job with it. It's everybody's been Space Ghost has been really big, for example. A lot of stuff they've done recently. So
yeah,
I kind of consider Dynamite to be a good shepherd of this kind of content. So these are some titles that I can see falling into that wheelhouse very well. I know there's a lot of fans of these properties out there that are excited to see it handled in a professional way with a lot of great content coming. So excited. And Kyle Allen, Anders Revenstad, Sean Gunn, and DuckTales. So yeah, definitely a lot of stuff coming out. I think at the time we were talking about the Darkwing Duck, for example. That's also another IP they've got on their wheelhouse now too. So a lot of the Disney stuff. If you're a fan of anything in the 80s or 90s, there's going to be stuff out there that you're definitely gonna love. And that's the other big one, Terminator from Declan Shelby. That was another exciting one too.
Very cool.
Talk about there's some great Terminator comics out there. Having more out there is going to be awesome. Always excited to see stuff from Declan Shelby. So
yeah, I saw the stuff about the Boys prequel, the Rise of Bot. I didn't realize that was SDCC news, but I was excited to hear about that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
and that's, man, it's just my bad because for some reason I think I saw most of the stuff break slightly before SDCC, and just so much has happened since then.
Gail Simone, James Bond. There we go.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah,
no, she's definitely doing some interesting stuff these days, and it was some X-Men stuff too. So excited to see more from her. That's cool. Yeah, you guys, there was just so much. You guys are killing it over there. So keep it up. We definitely want. See, already got one coming in there, claiming a DuckTales 1 cover.
That's awesome.
Yeah, way overdue for a Terminator reboot, especially with comics, and in general. I mean, since Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles is kind of the last time I was able to enjoy some Terminator content. So I'm ready for some more. Bond series is really killer. Ooh, are you gonna have the Bionic 6 on the roster at some point? There you go. Yeah, I mean, we've learned that saying these things out loud into the universe is kind of a good model to follow.
Speak it, and it may come to pass.
Exactly. All right, folks. Well, we are coming up on a really good stopping point here, to the point where we could do our last ad break. And I don't mean stopping point as in the end of the show. I mean a midpoint between two articles, because we have a couple more news things to talk about. We have some community artwork we want to show off. But we got one more ad break we're going to do before this show wraps up. And so we are going to show you some awesome content from over on the EXP, which you might be watching on right now. If you're not, I recommend subscribing. The link is in the description down below. And we're going to take that last ad break and see you back in a couple minutes, where we will talk about some more comic book news for everybody. See you soon.
In a world where you hit like and subscribe on our YouTube channel,
That'd be really great. Thanks.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with two comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Hey, it's Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and Bigby McFly, the comic book guy. You're watching Best Coast Comics. We are recapping the news from the week. We kind of wrapped up the last major SDCC news. We do have a couple. Oh, got one more recommendation for you, Nick. Silverhawks.
Ooh, good one.
Not recommendation, a suggestion. Putting it out there.
Please.
Yeah, exactly. Hydra Sam says, I hope Amanda Dibert is heading DuckTales. That would be a very cool thing to see. For sure. Very appropriate. So the last big bit of news before we get to our giveaway winner, which, by the way, hashtag SDCC in chat if you want to win that comic book giveaway. And the last bit of big news.
Love it. Wink.
Yeah, the winky face says so much. So I should just message Nick like a wish list of my favorite properties from like the last 30 years that see if he can work some magic. An elderly biker gang. It's like, oh wow, that you can go a lot of places with that one. That's awesome. So our last big article concerns CGC, which CGC and being in the news cycle go together like ham and cheese.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So here's the situation. There is at least one weird point in this article that I definitely want to bring up too. But I'm going to see if I can enhance that a little bit to make it a little bit readable for mobile screens. CGC loses defamation case. They are hit with $10 million in damages. This is some very inside legal baseball kind of stuff to a certain extent. This has to do a lot with defamation, and you could almost say like libel could kind of be included in part of that. Basically, the deal here, it has to do with Matt Nelson. By the way, Matt Nelson is somebody I've conversed with. At some point, I'm going to try to get him on the show here because we've had those kind of conversations, but things keep happening where I didn't necessarily want to bring him on in the middle of it. But this actually involves Matt Nelson directly. Oh. So, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess kind of technically indirectly. So the plaintiffs are Matt and Emily Myers of IGB. And IGB is part of a group called Investment Grade Books. And they restore comic books. I've personally never heard of them before. I'm not big in the comic book restoration scene. By the way, this article is from clicked.com, by the way, or I think it actually might be collect.com. I'm so sorry. But this has to do with Matt Nelson speaking up. Make sure I get to the right part of the article here. The Myers sent their restored comic books to CGC for grading, according to testimony in the case. Lead CGC grader Matt Nelson, they call it Matthew Nelson, publicly questioned in the online forum. I think that refers to the CGC forums themselves, but I'm not 100% sure, and that could be a factor here. He questioned how far IGB had gone in its restorations by asserting fraud, the lawsuit claimed. And again, they won the initial judgment on this lawsuit. The Myers believe their submissions received subpar grades, and they filed for defamation. The couple also asserted that their company had lost future business due to the questions of fraud. So CGC asserted that Nelson spoke for himself and not the company. Just worth pointing that out. The jury disagreed, and they ruled in Myers' favor. There is one thing that is interesting here. We are disappointed by the latest development in this nearly decade-old case and will be filing an appeal. CGC President Max Spiegel said in a statement. This, I believe, is incorrect because the CGC president is actually Matt Nelson. And I believe, because I think I've had dealings with him before, I think Max Spiegel is actually their attorney. So there's at least one error in this article. And the wording of how Matt Nelson publicly questioned the restorations, I guess he's asserting that they did not correctly represent the restoration done of the comic book. But this is interesting.
I mean, what can you say? It's like,
I think this is the crux of the article here for me is CGC asserted Nelson spoke for himself and not the company. But if it took place on CGC's forums and he's posting as
right,
even if it didn't, he's a known enough expert in the field that going around publicly speaking on something that he's involved with on a business level.
At the face of the company too. So yeah, exactly.
And I mean, at the time he was just the head grader, I think, when this happened. But now, since then, he's become the president. I believe that's the case. But even though they're hit with $10 million in damages, it's because they sued. Wait, plaintiffs were awarded $5 million in reputational and economic damages and $5 million in punitive damages. Okay, so the jury decided they get an extra $5 million. Basically, it sounds like.
Right.
It's a huge chunk of change for a comic restoration business, at least on the surface.
Yeah, and I don't know how big of a drop in the bucket that is for CGC, but
well, I mean,
they do have
CGC
some well-off owners, right?
Yeah, they're owned or have a controlled interest by Blackstone Investment Group, which that's chump change to them, but still.
Right.
I think the biggest thing for me, the takeaway is the reputational aspect of this for CGC specifically, and of course for IGB. But
be careful what you say, I guess.
Yeah, be careful what you say, especially when you're speaking on behalf, or what could be construed as on behalf of your company.
Right. And especially when you're speaking on something that's really going to affect somebody else's livelihood. I mean, you should really consider what you're saying. So,
and I'm just going to throw out there, since we are talking about legal proceedings and precedents, and I'm reading off of one article that clearly in my mind has at least one error in it. Please take everything I just said with a huge grain of salt, because there could be, mass differences in how that's reported versus what actually is the truth of the situation there. And a legal decision is not necessarily reflective of like what the real world might say all the time either, right? So the jury's decided it, and sometimes juries are presented with only a subset of the facts. I don't know. But I don't know.
Moving on to things that are more positive.
Yeah. Like let's talk about some community art.
Hey, that sounds like a fun thing to talk about.
Yeah. So we got a nice collection of community artwork here. The easiest way for me to do this is to open it with this program so I can share everything as a slideshow.
I didn't get anything from that Bronze Age nerd guy. Unless you slid some of your stuff in. Oh, you did. Okay, there we go.
You slid some of your stuff in here, so I slid some of my stuff in here.
There we go. There you go.
So let me share this so everybody can see the beautiful artwork we're about to show.
Preface that we want more people to participate.
Yes. Good point. And I think at some point we need to develop like a hashtag for people to post on IG that's like unique enough that we can just go and look at what they've posted.
Hashtag Best Coast Comics Art.
There you go. That's pretty good. Just straight to the point. Nobody else probably using that. And if you do,
something that would be specific.
Yeah. But yeah, the point is this is the part of the show where we show off your artwork, and anybody out there can share their artwork with us. We have some content guidelines, like, hey, let's make sure it's safe to show on YouTube or easily censored to the point where it doesn't look too racy. Actually, I think the spiciest piece of artwork is one of my pieces of artwork. Big surprise.
I felt bad. We had a really nice one by Ben Taz a while ago that we couldn't show. So
yeah, and it was kind of my call. It was like, I don't know. It's a little scintillating, But hey, maybe that gives people a reason to go follow Ben Taz on IG and check out that artwork.
Yes, all these guys that we're going to show, please follow everybody. They're talented, and no matter where you are in your artistic journey, we want to see your stuff and promote you. So. For
sure. Speaking of which, this, we had him in the chat earlier. Hope he's still around. If not, definitely go follow Actual Dracula,
Adrian,
on Instagram. Yep, Adrian. And this is obviously fantastic TMNT art. Did a really good job on this. I really like this one a lot. Yeah, he's a very talented guy. Every time I see his art, I just am like reminded by how good he is.
He has an amazing reel right now, where with one of the pieces that he sent me, where he's manipulating it and going through and drawing and then adding layers to it.
Nice.
Like literally like adding, like just sticking on it and drawing on that, and then adhering that to the art. It's amazing.
That's cool. He does some good stuff. He is in chat. Nice.
Hey, there he is.
There he is.
Hey, Adrian.
By the way, I say go follow him on Instagram. Also, go follow his YouTube channel. He does some great YouTube content too.
Yes.
So good job on this one, Adrian. We really appreciate you sharing this. I think maybe it'll play in a different order. Hopefully yours is now. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it is your artwork next too. Cool. So this is also by actual Dracula.
Beautiful piece.
Is that just death, or is this? Do you know the context on this one? Is this? I mean, he's in chat.
Maybe you can chime in, Drac. But that is really cool. Very cool piece.
Very cool. Personally, I dig this one better. And that's not that there's anything wrong with the turtle one, but this is very cool to me.
Just a sketch, he says.
Okay, very cool. Very cool.
Really
I like
cool.
it a lot. And I didn't really want it to work out this way. I think the next one's gonna be mine just because alphabetical order, but didn't want to steal any spotlight. I'll go over mine pretty quick. This is one I put out. I did this because I wanted to draw Wolverine. It had been a while. I've been drawing a lot of women, and I wanted to draw a male character. And with the movie coming out, I wanted to draw something Wolverine related, and I wanted it to be kind of like have some attitude and have some kind of, there's a lot of trailers out there with Wolverine and Deadpool kind of, bad mouthing each other. So in my opinion, this is directed at Deadpool. Did that one.
I like it. Very cool.
I just added the PNG for the title in the background because I thought it kind of completed the look. But yeah, my drawing in the front of that. And then here's my other one I submitted for this week. This is Empowered from Adam Warren's series Empowered. Kind of use some of his sketches as inspiration. I wanted to try to copy his style, and that can also be the booty cover of the week, right there. So to speak.
Like it.
And then this is from Ben Taz, who we've featured artwork from before. Very cool. So every time I've seen Ben's art, it's just been from you showing it to me because algorithms are broken. But I've really liked everything I've seen so far. So I'm going to go back and start scrolling through the history there and checking out the rest of Ben's art because this is awesome.
Yeah, he actually has a graphic novel that he put out too.
Right,
self-published. Yeah.
That's very cool. Very cool.
I love that. That's a really nice piece.
Yeah. And then this was Ben's other piece for this week.
He's really great at that, like using the very heavy blacks, the very like almost Mignola-esque.
A little Miller, a little
outlines. Yeah.
Yep. Very cool. And this one just kind of has like some cool nostalgia in it, right? Like that's fun.
Is that Joust? Is that the Joust logo?
Is it the Joust logo? I mean, you wouldn't surprise me at all if you said that. Like that makes perfect sense.
I don't know for sure, but I think that's Joust.
That could make perfect sense. Yeah, 100%. I could see that. That or like Altered Beast or something like that, maybe. Or cool. And then here, he got some artwork by Bigby McFly. I'm gonna make that take up the whole screen there.
I sent that one off to what's her name? She's a big Mary Jane fan. So.
Jackpot?
Jackpot Comics, yeah.
Yeah, nice. Definitely go follow. He's a really good artist. Go follow Bigby McFly, the comic book guy, over on Instagram.
Awesome.
I definitely love your art, man. You do a great job, and I'm always impressed by your stuff. Like at some point, we got to show off your Batman panels you did, the consecutive panels.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did those as like an animated little short movie too. It was kind of fun.
Kind of zoom in on this a little bit. Do you want to tell everyone about this piece? This is pretty cool too.
It was part of a mashup idea I did on Roscoe's channel. It was Golden Age mashup. So I was doing sci-fi and robots and zombies. And so yeah, we kind of got almost even like the ship from Futurama there. We got Bender, but Bender was originally a Golden Age, inspired by a Golden Age cover. So that was what inspired me to put it in my Golden Age mashup. So.
It's very cool. Very cool. I really like this. Did you take this any further, like with colors or anything?
Not yet. I'm planning on going further with it.
Nice.
I mean, you can kind of see in the background. I've sketched in Saturn in the background up there, and some stuff going on. So,
right on. Yeah, I want to see this looking like full like pulp cover, style like that. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I want to get it there. I need the time.
Yeah. Pesky jobs and all that kind of stuff. Streaming on YouTube.
Darn responsibilities.
And then I think he bounced for the night, but he was in the chat earlier. This is from Comics Limited. This is actually this piece was auctioned off as part of Heroes for Heroes last year.
Yeah.
Which is the charity that I've done, and obviously help from a lot of people. There's going to be even more help this year. We are ramping up back behind the scenes kind of stuff for Heroes for Heroes. It's going to be taking place on Veterans Day. But this is a piece that was auctioned off on that stream from Trav over at Comics Limited. And he paired it with, he gave me some, like a first appearance of Spider-Boy and another Spider-Boy comic. I can't remember off the top of my head. But this was a full 11x17 piece that he did. That was really cool. So I appreciate him.
He's amazing at doing like the full blown, like everything from the pencils to the inks to the colors. He's really good. Yeah. Yeah. And he showed me when he was blocking this out. I met up with him at a comic book shop in Vancouver, and he showed me like some of the blocking originally he was doing for this. And I was very cool to see this one finished, this Iron Man piece. Mm-hmm. That's really neat. So yeah, he does a really good job. I definitely enjoy seeing his artwork too. And then speaking of Roscoe. Roscoe.
Wow. Dude,
so good. He
does such a good job.
Donald Venom Duck.
It's so cool.
It is really cool. It is really cool.
Man, Roscoe, if you're
amazing.
If you're still in here, good job, dude. That's awesome. And then this is Roscoe's other submission. Speaking of, boy, we had some DuckTales talk in the chat earlier. We had some Terminator talk in the chat earlier.
And maybe some Johnny Bravo. We got some Johnny Bravo going on over there.
Exactly. So
I love that though. Johnny Bravo as the Terminator. It's awesome.
And for some reason, when I see those two characters together now, I almost kind of get like a They Live, even though I know that's not what it's based on, but there's almost kind of like just something of, the glasses and the face reveal kind of thing.
I'm all out of bubble gum.
I love it. I played Duke Nukem when I was a kid, the original game, and he says that line in the game, and I didn't know what it was from at the time until later on, but that's so cool.
Right.
So if you want to have your artwork featured on Best Coast Comics, we want to feature it. So make sure you hit up. You can message anywhere. You can message Bigby or me, and we'll get your artwork added to the show. Bigby primarily takes the lead on it, but if you want to message me, I can definitely get that entered in for you. And our artwork is going to be exempt from this, obviously, but at the end of the year, we're going to do a contest, and we'll have all the full details on that soon. But we're going to take some of the artwork that was featured. We're going to kind of create like some way to kind of vote on it, maybe like a curated panel of the stuff we like the most, and then we'll let other people vote on the top submissions or something. And we'll do a little prize package for the winning artist at the end of the year. Might have a sketch from us in it. Might have some comic books. We'll throw together something cool for the winner of that. So
even Trav volunteered to do something as well. So
nice. So yeah, you'll get a really cool package, or at least we think it's cool.
In our estimation.
Yeah. And this, the whole point of this, in case you're wondering why the heck we're doing this, the whole point was we want to try to be positive. We want to celebrate. Like Comic Collector Geek was in here earlier. He did a Kickstarter earlier this year, and we want to support stuff like that. We had Swaggle House Comics was in here earlier, and we talked about his Kickstarter that he had up for Sanity, for example. And that's the kind of stuff we want to highlight, not just within the community, but hey, the community that we interact with, we really want to build everybody up. So
we want to encourage people like to grow and enjoy doing artwork and just experiment with that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We behind the scenes, Bigby and I were both kind of talking about art and sharing it with each other. We're talking about the positivity it brought us, and we just thought, hey, let's bring that to the show. So
yeah, for sure.
Speaking of positivity, should we give away some comics?
Hey, let's do that. I think that's
Nice.
Something people have been looking forward to.
Yeah. So we're doing a little bit different this week and probably from now on. I did the multiple prize package thing, but we're probably going to make it more of a curated kind of experience. I got a couple books to give you. Fantastic Four, Authoritative Actions. I think is that. Yeah, Authoritative Action, and then the Marvel Spider-Man Encyclopedia. Those are, you're at least going to get those. Trust me, you're going to get more in your mailer when it comes to you. Bayou Shade asks, will you be doing Heroes for Heroes or any auction soon? So Heroes for Heroes will take place in November for Veterans Day. There's a lot of groundwork. I'm talking to artists right now to get art collected for it. And I'm trying to build something called the Coalition. So if you have anything you want to donate for that auction that would help kind of raise money to prevent veteran suicides, absolutely get in touch with us. That'll take place in November. There is most likely, I'd say it's like 95% sure that we'll have some kind of a claim sale this Saturday with Bigby and I probably streaming from the same location, doing some great books. So there will be that coming up soon. So if you're interested in that, definitely follow.
For sure.
And so I'll give everybody like 20 seconds, which should be just about enough with lag. So type this into chat right now. Hashtag SDCC for your chance to win the prize package. Again, I throw in all kinds of stuff. I don't guarantee that I'll throw in a sketch. I've thrown in sketches and remarks and stuff like that before. I've thrown in stickers, comic books, cards, just try to show you guys some love.
Use Band-Aids.
Yep, use Band-Aids. Bloody needles. No, none of that stuff. Beard hairs occasionally make it in. That's just a hazard of shipping around tape with beard hairs. I
love it.
All right. So I saw one or two more comments. So I'm going to give it just maybe about 5 more seconds just to make sure everybody had a chance to get it in there. I don't want anybody to miss out.
For sure.
But we appreciate Michael. I hadn't highlighted a comment from you earlier, so I appreciate that. And a couple, hey, good. We got another entry in there, so that's awesome. Or I think maybe it already entered because it didn't go up, so that's good. Hey, it's good to make sure you did it. All right,
my buddy Pete.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so here we're gonna do the drawing. Good luck, everybody, on the giveaway.
And drum roll.
The winner is Shadow Rat. Shadow Rat is our big winner. Congratulations, Shadow Rat. Very excited for you to get the win on that one. Hey, hit me up with your shipping information. I know I had it at one point, but I always appreciate that. Oh yeah, but congratulations, man. Oh, thank you for watching.
Yeah, appreciate all you guys for watching.
Yeah, when you hit me up with your shipping information, let me know a couple of your favorite characters so I can kind of throw in some stuff that's related to some of your favorite characters. That always helps out. I really appreciate that. And we'll get that mailed off to you. I'll be the first to admit I don't ship these out extremely quickly. So sometimes it might be a week or two, but I do get them out.
Patience.
Yeah, congratulations to Shadow Rat. Thanks to everybody else who entered and watched the show tonight. Next week we will have another stream. This is our weekly show. So next week at 8 p.m. Pacific time or 11 if you're over on the East Coast, we'll be doing another show for Best Coast Comics. Who knows what the topics could be? We've had some guest mentions that may come on. Probably by Wednesday, we'll have a topic announced for that you'll be able to kind of check out, and we'll see what's happening.
At least one lead topic, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then any of the news that comes out between now and next Monday, we'll make sure to cover as long as it's something that we would normally cover. But hey, I'm excited. SDCC. Oh,
I said it's funny. We were down to the wire, like sending each other. Oh, what about this? What about this? This news happened. Hey, here.
Yeah, well, it was a busy week. Like we missed a couple of things because it was so busy.
Right.
It was a lot going on, and I'm excited. One comment I saw and I totally agreed with. I didn't really get a chance to say this. It was cool to see Hall H presentation be a thing at San Diego Comic-Con again. Like that was fun. That was just fun to see.
Hey, can you pull up that Jim Lee? I sent it to you in the show thing. That Jim Lee.
Is it on the Discord?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was pretty cool.
saw
The
it.
artwork was amazing.
What? Why is it making me log in again?
Because it loves you.
Yeah, it loves me. 1 second. Well, it's on Instagram, so it might be kind of okay. All right. Hang on. Let me get rid of all my notifications.
So the ending of is it Weird War Tales?
Mm-hmm.
The ending of Weird War Tales, the creature commandos are sentenced to die, and instead of dying, their leader sends them off into space. So that was the logo. It's the other one. They sent you 2 different posts.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's the logo one.
Golly.
I sent you 2.
There it is.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So it looks like it's going to take place in space. Which I thought was really cool. And the artwork is just awesome. It shows it all the way from sketch to finished. So,
jeez, boy, and this is something we'll probably talk about next week. I would say that's probably that art right there probably worth like $50,000 probably.
Yeah, it's just amazing. It's beautiful artwork. So.
But my point is that there was some stuff that came out about Jim Lee's commission saying we should probably talk about that a little bit.
Oh yeah. His what he's charging. I'm going to be at Terrificon. I'll get to see that firsthand.
There you go. Oh, yeah, so it kind of goes backwards. Okay.
Yeah, so all the way from sketch. Yeah.
There he is. All right, that's cool.
There he is. From sketch all the way to finished. But, yeah. So I don't know if it's going to be space or not, but it looks cool.
It does look very cool. Yeah, just one of my favorite artists of all time, like 100%. As the kids would say, no cap. I don't know if I'm using that correctly. I think we just lost.
Lie. Yeah, no cap, no lie.
We just lost like 50 viewers because I said that.
Jay says, "Wait, does that say David?"
Just Das Malchin?
Is writing.
Yeah, Das Malchin and Dynamo artist Jesus Hervas can do. Well, this series is not tied into the upcoming animated series from DC Studios. They both remain brilliant standalone adaptations of the same source material, dating back to the Creature Commandos' first appearance in 1980.
Very cool.
So, hey, thanks a lot for sticking around and checking out the artwork. Yeah, you're probably referring to Jim Lee's artwork, which is understandable.
He's definitely referring to your artwork.
That would be too kind. Well, speaking of running, we're actually getting ready to wrap up the show here, folks.
For sure.
So yeah, like I said, we'll be back with a new topic next week. Yeah, until then, just make sure you read comics every day, as I say at the end of my videos traditionally.
And share your love of comics with everyone you meet. You never know where it may lead you.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we'll try to keep it positive out there, folks. There's so much positivity that we should be talking about, and sometimes all I see is the negativity. So I love it when I see you guys out there being positive. That's great. Thank you so much for that.
For sure.
All right. Well, until next week, we'll catch you on the next Monday stream, and see you then. Have a great night, everybody. See you later.
In a world where you hit like and subscribe on our YouTube channel,
That'd be really great. Thanks. Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.